Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I've got a way different type of video for you than usual because we're going to talk about getting a motorcycle license. For those of you who've been following my channel for longer and have been watching my recent makeup tutorials, you probably already know that I've gotten a motorcycle license recently. And well, to be fair, I wanted to vlog it, but ironically I was too busy with the actual lessons to actually vlog, so I haven't vlogged in ages. So I figured let's just do one specific video only about the subject of getting a motorcycle license, and use my tips and tricks on it, because I have heard from quite a bit of people by now that they also sort of want to do it, but like they're either nervous about the process or scared that they won't be able to properly learn it. And just, you know, I think a lot of those fears are, well, you know, it's riding a motorcycle can be dangerous, so it's good to be like, you know, it's good to think about it beforehand, but I feel like a lot of people make it a lot scarier than it actually is. So if you're one of those people, then hopefully this video will be helpful to you. Oh, and also, sort of a disclaimer, this is obviously entirely like, well, basically I have this list on what I want to tell, because I know myself and otherwise I'm gonna forget stuff. But everything that has to do with like the practical exams and like the whole thing of getting the license legally, that's all obviously very much just about the Netherlands, because it's different per country, you know, what the stuff you have to do and the exams you have to take are different per country, and like some countries are a lot more difficult with it than other countries. Like in some countries you can just buy a motorcycle and teach yourself how to ride it, and in other countries like the Netherlands you actually have to take 3 different tests in order to be allowed to have a license for it, and only then are you allowed to drive one. So yeah, keep that in mind, that my entire experience is entirely based on the Netherlands. So if you are not living in the Netherlands and want to get a motorcycle license, do always make sure to look up the rules in your country, just so you know that you actually have the correct information. Now, one thing that I do recommend is, before you start any of this, what I did is I sort of made this like plan for myself, and that included like the steps I wanted to take, the steps I had to take to get the license. But it also included the financial part, because keep in mind, no matter what country you live in, I don't believe there's any country in the world where driving a motorcycle is a cheap hobby. Because you need the lessons and you need the motorcycle, and you also, you know, in order to keep yourself safe, need the clothing for on the motorcycle. So yeah, just like with a car, it costs money. The entire thing just costs money, and maybe with a motorcycle, in a way even more, because for a car you don't need specific clothing. Like, because you're protected by the car, whereas on a motorcycle, well, you know, your own skills and your clothing are all the protection you have, so yeah, and like both in a way cost money to get. So yeah, do keep in mind that it's like important to, like, you know what you're getting into. And also I personally, like, I saved money first and then went for the lessons, because if you take the lessons first and then you start to have like and then you start to save money to actually get a motorcycle, that sentence made more sense in my head somehow. Then it might just take you like a year before you can even get a motorcycle after getting a license, at which point you're probably going to have to take 1 or 2 more lessons to get back in the vibe of being on a motorcycle. It's easier if you can just do the lessons, get the license, and then immediately move on to getting the motorcycle. So yeah, budget wise it's smart to plan for that. Now, and the first thing I recommend is, again, this is a Dutch thing maybe, like if you live in a country where you don't even need to take lessons, then, you know, just it's different. But yeah, in the Netherlands with the lessons, you always, well, basically every driving school offers a like testing lesson, you know, like basically just to try it out. That's not really like meant to already like teach you a lot of things, but more just meant to make you feel what it's like to sit on a motorcycle and ride the motorcycle. Now, it's usually, or at least how it goes in the Netherlands, because it's a busy country and you don't want to do any of that on the public road, you will go to driving school, get on the back of a motorcycle with an instructor. They'll drive you to like an empty parking lot that they use as a practice terrain, and there they'll let you ride the motorcycle just, you know, in a straight line, making a careful turn. that sort of stuff, just to get you to feel the motorcycle basically. And don't be discouraged if you end up falling. Any good driving school will actually, like, they won't let you ride without a helmet for a start, because that's, at least in the Netherlands, highly illegal. But they'll lend you a helmet, a jacket, trousers. Most of them even let you borrow like shoes and like gloves and stuff like that. So you will be protected and you won't drive fast at all on that parking lot, because you'll be on the motorcycle for pretty much the first time probably. But yeah, like I fell down too the first time because I made a turn, got nervous, hit the brakes, and at that point when the bike is at an angle and you hit the brakes, you're just going to have the entire weight of the motorcycle fall down. And the first per motorcycle, I think the ones that are used in the lessons are like 200 kilos. I can't lift 200 kilos. So if it falls, and you fall with it. So yeah, just the best thing you can do is make sure your legs don't get underneath the motorcycle and just be like, whoopsie, and get back up and get the motorcycle back up. Actually, the instructor did that for me, because I couldn't manage to lift it. But anyway, so yeah, but don't be discouraged if that happens. It happens to everyone. It will happen in other lessons too. It's just part of the process of learning. But yeah, I do recommend always doing that lesson, because, well, at worst you might realize, okay, this is really not something I enjoy, and you can quit it immediately. But at the very least, it's a way to, like, you know, just feel what it's like to be on a motorcycle, so you can then start the actual lessons and already, you know, actually know the feeling, which really helps. And usually a tryout lesson is cheaper than an actual lesson as well, which is also why it's advisable to start with one of those. Another thing we have to do in the Netherlands is to do a theory test. I have trouble with pronouncing some words in English, sorry. A theory test, and well, you can either do that like you can do it before you even, I just smacked the table, before you even start the lessons. The only rule is you need to have successfully done the theory test before you do the final practical exam. So yeah, so it's advisable to do it in time. Like, I don't know how it is in other countries again, but like in the Netherlands there is a waiting time, and because, you know, it's busy, more people want to do the tests. So it is advisable to like start doing it as soon as possible. Like when you've decided you want to get the motorcycle license, go for the theory test. Because you might fail once and you don't want to like have to postpone the final practical test because you don't have the theory test yet. So yeah, just make sure to start on it as soon as possible. What I also advise is to do an online course. Because the way it goes here is you basically get put in front of a touchscreen, and there they have like the questions, and it's multiple choice. I hate multiple choice, by the way, because with multiple choice you gotta read the question, take it for what it is, and then pick the most logical answer. And I overthink things. I just overthink it. Especially when I know I'm being judged. I overthink it and then I screw it up, and yeah, that's not good. I don't like multiple choice. But anyway, it's multiple choice, and it really helps to have already done, like, there's websites that offer, like, you know, like, not the tests, obviously, but like, you know, fake ones. And then you can just practice with those, so you know how the questions are posed, you know what the screens look like, so you get there and you already know the screen. You don't have to, like, really confusedly, like, look up how they want you to do stuff, if you get what I mean. It's just easier that way. And again, don't be discouraged if you fail the first time. I did too. I mean, another advice I can give you is probably don't do a night shift at work and then go do the theory test immediately, because you'll be sitting there half asleep being like, I'm awake, yes I'm awake, what was I doing? I'm awake. And yeah, I failed the first time because of all of that, and then the second, like, I had one question wrong. Like, one too many questions wrong. But yeah, the second time I succeeded, and that's what matters. So yeah, but anyway, I just recommend getting that out of the way as quickly as possible, because to me at least that was the most annoying part. Now the second thing you need to do in the Netherlands is to get the AVB test done. That's basically handling, like in the Netherlands you have to do two practical tests, the AVB and the AVD. The first one is voertuigbeheersing, so that's like controlling the vehicle. The second one, AVD, is A, like the driver's license is the A license for a motorcycle. And that's like, you know, being in the traffic, being part of the traffic. But you only do that one after you've done the first one, because obviously you need to control the vehicle before actually doing, you know, traffic. Doing traffic, it sounded so weird. Well, you get what I mean. Like, you need to know how to control your vehicle before you actually, you know, start moving around cars and other vehicles, and like actually get into the traffic. And yeah, and that part is always on, like, you know, basically an enclosed terrain or like an abandoned parking lot, that sort of thing. It's usually, in the Netherlands at least, most cities have this like terrain where there's just, I don't know, a gathering of all sorts of driving schools and heaps of motorcycle students all practicing together, or at least at the same terrain, like, and like there's just lots of like instructors walking around, and your instructor is just going to tell you what, you know, things to do and give you tips and tricks on how to do them better. Basically you need to do different kind of tests. I'll just like let them scroll down the screen a little bit, like the official CBR, like the thing that does the like driver's license stuff in the Netherlands. You know, like the things that they want you to do. Even if you live in a country, by the way, where that's not a thing that you have to do, I would definitely recommend doing those things. Like, you know, just find a parking lot and like try to like practice those things, because it really helps you build skills. You need to do stuff like, obviously, you know, a normal braking, emergency braking. You need to do like a slow riding and like, just, you know, like walking speed, and keep the motorcycle balanced, obviously. Do a slow like slalom, like turning around the thingies. I make it sound really strange, but you know, it's all things that are like, it seems like party tricks maybe, but they're all skills that really do come back in traffic. Because, for example, if you have to navigate through a busy area, for example, and you have to drive slowly but avoid things, you need to have the skill of being able to keep the motorcycle upright while making turns really slowly. You know, and you have to have the skills of like, if you're in a dead-end street and you need to like turn back, there's like the U-turn that is also part of those tests. You know, like those are just the skills that you are going to like need, or at least have a lot of use of in traffic. So they're definitely worth the efforts. And like I said, in the Netherlands you just have to do them, because there's also a test and you have to pass the test. Basically there's 15 different things that you might be asked to do during the test, and some of them they always ask, and other ones they, like, the examiner just sort of picks and chooses. You need to be successful at like a certain amount of them to actually, you know, succeed in the test. And yeah, once you have that, then you're good to go for actual traffic. And then once you're done with the controlling of the vehicle, it's time to start moving into traffic. I personally, I don't know, in a way I found it way more tricky to do the like the first thing, like the little like small like exercises. I found those more difficult to learn actually than like moving around the traffic. Also because I already had a car driving license, so I already knew traffic, you know. Like, you don't have to still learn the road rules and stuff like that. It's like you can anticipate in traffic because you already have experience in that. But anyway, what is really important with a motorcycle is to just really learn to anticipate situations. And keep in mind that at the start of the lesson, or at least I really had that, and I hear it from a lot of people, the first few lessons are going to be tricky, and you're really going to be left wondering, okay, how am I ever going to properly do this? Because at the first lessons, even if you've already even though at that point you should already have finished the first tests and actually be capable officially of handling the vehicle, you will need more time to think and prepare for turns. So you're going to be left feeling like, okay, I have to make a turn, so now I have to check the mirror and check the shoulder. Now I have to gear down and I have to hit the brakes and I have to do this and I have to do that. You know, it's going to feel stressful, and you're going to feel like you barely have enough time to get shit done before you're actually making the turn. And that will get easier because you will actually, you know, get more experience with it. And at some point, after a couple of lessons, you will be at a point where you don't actually need to think anymore before making a turn, or at least you won't have to think anymore in the sense of hitting the brakes and getting into the correct gear is just going to feel natural instead of something you have to actively think about. So yeah, and that's just something that is experience. Like, you can't expect, or at least you shouldn't expect from yourself to do that perfect immediately. Just give yourself the time to learn that and to get comfortable with it, and you'll notice after a couple of lessons suddenly that it just becomes way easier, that you don't have to feel anymore like you hurry, like you gotta hurry before making a turn to get all the stuff done that you have to do beforehand. But that is just, oh, I'm going to make a turn, and you just automatically hit the brakes, get into the right gear, and then you have all the time in the world to look before doing stuff. And that is one thing that's really, really important on a motorcycle, to really look ahead. Like, don't go at a roundabout and then, like, a few meters beforehand start looking, oh wait, is there actually other traffic here? No, you gotta check that beforehand. Like, at the point where you see, hey, there's a roundabout in the distance, start looking at how busy it is and start making your plan, so that by the time you reach the roundabout, you'll just be like, okay, if I just go really slow now, then that pedestrian can just cross the, you know, crosswalk before I get there. That car will be way over there already. That car won't even be on the roundabout yet. So if I hit the gas after the pedestrian is gone, then I can just merge in and just get across. You know, you want to do that beforehand. And also, like with merging in like traffic on the highway, stuff like that, make the plan as soon as you can see the highway. Or at least as soon as you can see where you gotta merge in, obviously. And also, when you're a beginner, keep in mind that a good driving instructor, like mine always drove, it's like some take the car, but mine always took his motorcycle, almost always at least. And keep in mind that a good, like, you know, teacher is not going to let you actually get yourself into really, really big trouble. Like, if you can't manage at your first few lessons to properly merge into the highway, they will merge in first and make sure that there's space for you so you can merge in next to them. You know, they're not going to leave you hanging like that. So yeah, that's just something, again, like, you just got to get the experience with it. And once you have the experience, it just becomes way, way easier. So yeah, and even with that as well, by the way, as with the other stuff, make sure to also watch YouTube videos of, like, you know, driving instructors in your country. And like most countries have driving instructors who post YouTube videos, at least. We even have those in the Netherlands. And yeah, you even get even more tips and tricks and advice. And you get to look at the students from the point of view of the instructor. And sometimes it's also really helpful because you can really look, like, see the mistakes you might make yourself, but you see it from like another person's point of view. So you can really tell what should have been done better, which you can then use during your own lessons to do stuff better, which is really helpful. Oh, and another advice I would like to give you is to buy a helmet and stuff. Like, when I was like on my third lesson or something, I already bought a helmet, a jacket and trousers for the motorcycle. Because, you know, it's just nice to have your own clothing, because especially with a helmet, a good driving school is going to have, like, you know, multiple helmets in every size. However, you know, like, they're not your own helmet. They're not like completely folded to your own face, you know, like, it's just different. And it's just nice to have a helmet that's guaranteed to fit well on your head. So yeah, that's why I really recommend buying your own stuff as soon as possible. And also, you know, once you get the license, you're going to need the clothing anyway, so, and the helmet, so you might as well already have them. So yeah, that's what I did, at least. I made sure to buy the stuff as soon as I was completely sure that I was going to actually do this. Just so I had it, and that's just, it's so much more comfortable if you're riding with your own stuff, because it's just guaranteed to fit well. So yeah, that's definitely a tip. And then the next step, once you have all the tests done and you have the driver's license, obviously, you might want to buy a motorcycle. Yeah, and that's something else. I really do recommend actually going to a motorcycle dealer and, like, you know, just talk with them and, like, have them give you advice. I did that too. Like, I had this very specific idea in mind of what kind of motorcycle I wanted, but I didn't know about, like, the strength of a motorcycle and that sort of stuff. Oh, also in the Netherlands, if you're below 24 years old, you get a different license for a motorcycle, and you're only allowed to drive weaker, less heavy motorcycles. So keep that in mind too, that if you're very young and in your country you might not get a full motorcycle license yet, that you get a motorcycle that you're actually allowed to ride. I'm 31 years old, so I just have a full motorcycle license. I can ride any motorcycle I want. So like I didn't have that issue, but like if you do, then you know, yeah, make sure you get the right kind of motorcycle for your license. But anyways, I had no idea about the strength of motorcycles and stuff like that, so for me it was definitely useful to ask advice at the motorcycle dealer, because well, the motorcycle I had my eye on first was only 500cc, which is weaker than the average you know, driving instructor like lesson motorcycle, which is 650cc. It looked really cool, but like yeah, basically the way the salesman described it would be like if he would be riding his motorcycle to like, you know, a road trip to Germany, and I would be riding that motorcycle, then he would like lose me like at the nearest intersection, because you know, like you can just accelerate way less slowly with it, and like it's not that you need to drive too fast or anything like that. It's just literally the speed of acceleration and how smooth it goes in traffic. So yeah, get a motorcycle that you can do with what you want as well. I wanted to do road trips, so I wanted a motorcycle that's strong enough to properly do that, so that I can just comfortably ride, that I don't need to push to actually get to merge in traffic, that I don't have to force up a mountain in Germany, but like that I can just comfortably ride, and that I know can just do what I wanted to do, that just has the power to easily do it all. So yeah, I settled for a 900cc motorcycle. And yeah, that's just basically, you know, it's stronger than the lesson motorcycles, but it's not too strong for me. I didn't want a super strong motorcycle, because for one, they're way more expensive, and two, I don't need a humongous amount of strength. Like, I just needed a motorcycle that is like capable of doing what I wanted to do. Like, I'm not doing racing or anything, and I don't really plan on riding a lot with people, you know, sitting behind me on a motorcycle with passengers, so I don't need a super extremely strong motorcycle. Like 900 is just, you know, average, strong average, which is, you know, perfect for me. And also, there's the style of motorcycle. So basically there's like touring style, there's retro style, there's super sport style. Do keep in mind with the super sport style, by the way, that they're like pretty much like, they're like the road safe version of like motorcycle racing motorcycles, so you do sit really to the front. They really look cool, but they're like a little bit more difficult in turns, because your balance is way different, and they're not really meant to drive slow, and they're also, well, on longer trips they tend to be very uncomfortable, because you're constantly sitting hunched over. And again, I want to do road trips, so that's not, you know, what was perfect for me. Also, you know, obviously, well, one of the three styles I just mentioned, you can probably already tell which one I picked. The retro style, obviously. I love vintage, I love retro, and I just really wanted a naked bike, like that you can see all the stuff, like that you can see all like the pipes and stuff. And retro style, just vintagey, like old-fashioned looking, modern classics is what they call them. And it's, yeah, that's just really what I fell in love with. So I wanted a motorcycle like that. I eventually settled for a Triumph Speedwin 900, because I saw pictures of it on the website of the motorcycle dealer, and I was like drooling at it. No, really, I was looking at it and I was like, scroll, I want that. Like seriously, it was love at first sight. So yeah, that's what I picked. The exact color I wanted. It's so freaking gorgeous. I love it. So yeah, anyway, but like that's another advice I can give you. Obviously, in terms of like the type of or like the strength, I mean, of motorcycle, get some advice. But on like the looks of the motorcycle, go with your heart, because you know, in the end, basically everyone I know who has a motorcycle license and a motorcycle, you know, partly uses it for transportation, but also really has it as a hobby. And it being a hobby, just pick something you love. Like, pick a motorcycle that you're actually just in love with, that you actually look at and you're like, wow, it's so gorgeous. Because why wouldn't you, you know, just pick one that you actually really like for the looks of it as well. Because in the end, it's also a hobby, so enjoy it. That's kind of the point. So yeah, that's why I picked this particular motorcycle. And yeah, just, you know, whatever style you love, try to go for a motorcycle that you really love. Another thing that I would recommend buying along with the motorcycle, or at least that is just pretty much something I think you really should buy, is a good lock. Now, I don't know how it is with insurances in other countries, but in the Netherlands, a car insurance and a motorcycle insurance, bicycle insurance, any sort of insurance will also give you some rules you have to follow in order for them to actually pay you anything if shit goes wrong. So basically with the motorcycle, they do usually have rules on what kind of locks they want you to have. So basically I needed to have a 4-star chain lock, for example. So I bought a 4-star chain lock. My bike is chained in my front yard to a pole that is basically cemented into the ground. So it's really stuck in there. And I also have an alarm on it. And that's, well, trust me, the alarm was nerve-wracking. Because I'm terrified of it going off on accident, because it's really loud, which is good for an alarm, but like I don't want it to go off on accident. But anyway, so yeah, basically it's chain locked to a cemented into the ground pole. It's also alarmed, and yeah, so basically, and also the steering wheel can lock, so I also do that, and then it's just completely safe basically. So that's something I definitely recommend. At the point where you buy the motorcycle, immediately also buy good locks, alarms, that sort of stuff to protect the motorcycle. And also, whether you put it outdoors or indoors, make sure you get an appropriate cover for it. Mine is parked outdoors, so I have a cover for it that is meant for the outdoors. And one that's actually advice I got from my boss at work. He actually told me that when he got his first motorcycle and like he bought a cover for it that was really cheap, because he was like, whatever, it should just cover it, whatever, doesn't matter. And he soon regretted that, because it turned out that if the motorcycle was warm or damp, then it basically started to like really go musty underneath the cover. Like the cover didn't breathe or anything, so it got gross underneath it. Which is really not nice, and the old motorcycle would just be stinky and damp when he got the cover off, and that's just not what you want. So yeah, his advice to me was buy a good cover. So I did. That's also something I asked advice on at the motor store, by the way, because I didn't know what size I needed to get. And if you tell the people there, well, I bought this and that motorcycle, then they will know, oh, you need the small or the large or the extra large. I needed a large. But that just prevents you from accidentally buying a cover that's either way too big and floppy or way too small to actually fit over your motorcycle. So yeah, that's another really good advice I can give you as well. Buy a good cover. I already noticed it when I picked up the motorcycle. It was raining, so it was wet when I put the cover on it to protect it from even more rain. And when it was dry and I took the cover off, the motorcycle was just completely clean and dry. It just dried up perfectly with the cover on it. And the cover can also withstand heat, so you can just put the cover on as soon as you're done driving and have parked the motorcycle. You don't need to wait for it to cool down fully. It'll just cool down perfectly fine with the cover on top of it. So that's really nice. So yeah, definitely buy a good cover. And then there's also, like, those are basically like the lock, the alarm, the cover. There was something else that I definitely recommend you getting, but I forgot what it was. Oh right, a phone case. I would definitely also recommend you getting a phone case. Because that way you can use your phone for navigation. As someone who regularly gets lost, that's just very nice to have. I do recommend getting a good phone case, because that's another thing that I heard actually from multiple people, that your telephone might just be completely wrecked if you put it on a mount just like this without protection. Because a motorcycle shakes and your phone might actually shake itself into certain doom. Basically, it might break is what I'm trying to say here. So buy a good phone case. I bought an Optiline case, like not sponsored or anything, but they're just a very well-known brand here. So yeah, I just bought a basic mount. Oh, there's also something, by the way, that I bought. Almost forgot. I bought a windscreen as well. I just had it put on the motorcycle, you know, before I went to pick it up. because I wasn't about to do that myself, because I'm not that handy. But anyway, because I also, like I said, I wanted to do like long rides, and it's just nice to have the windscreen so you don't have all the wind in your face. So I didn't want a huge big phone mount that really came up high, because I felt like it would just be in my view, and I wanted to be nice and subtle. So I got quite a small one that's just directly on the steering wheel, just stands up a little bit, and it has this like ball mount that you can just, you know, you can just move your phone in whatever like direction. So that's nice, but it's not too obviously or big, you know, but that's just a matter of what you want. Also, this one is just really protective. Like the cable, by the way, is not included. That's a loose thing. Mine also, my motorcycle has a USB port underneath the saddle. So basically, if you want to charge your phone on your motorcycle, I do recommend buying a cord that has this like loopy thing that stretches out and stretches back in. So it can just comfortably sit there and just be tight, as opposed to having just a long cable that will get in the way and just flop around on the motorcycle, because that will be really annoying. This is just way safer and just way more comfortable. It can also get out of the case, by the way. It's just still in there because I used it like this, but like the phone case is just in existence without the cord as well. But anyway, this particular one, you can put cards in it in the back if you want to. There were foam pieces with it, and the thick foam piece I actually keep in the back as extra protection. Then your phone just straps into the front like this. So you just stuff your phone in. You stuff your phone in, wrap it up, and then you just close it and you're good to go. Obviously zip it closed if you're really going to ride. Don't just keep it like this. But anyway, and then your phone is really protected. I already tried it yesterday when it wasn't raining like it is right now, on a ride, and my phone was perfectly fine. So that's good to know. I just dropped this thing. Anyway, so yeah, but that's just something I also do recommend. And also, what I noticed is you want to put your phone on the highest brightness. And I just use regular Bluetooth earbuds, and I put the volume on quite loud so I could hear the like navigation over the sound of the motorcycle itself, which is quite handy. But just try it out, and like, you know, try it out when you're actually going for a ride to somewhere where you know where it is. And you don't have to rely on the like navigation, just so you can like figure out what works and what doesn't. In a safe space, you know, if you get what I mean. So yeah, that's also something I recommend getting. And yeah, so those are basically the things. Like, and you can, of course, you can buy a lot of things for motorcycles. You can buy an actual navigation system. The navigation I use on my phone, by the way, is a TomTom Go Ride, which is specifically for motorcycles. I am planning on getting an actual TomTom, like just a full one, separate one, in a while, maybe next year, when I actually want to go abroad, because then I don't want to have to use my phone's data bundle for navigation, obviously. But yeah, those are just things. You can buy a lot for motorcycles, but you don't need to buy everything at once. Just make sure you have the basics to keep the motorcycle safe. Now, other like advice I can give you on like stuff to buy when you ride a motorcycle is, in terms of clothing, one thing I bought recently, this is a specific tip on a specific type of clothing, admittedly, not sponsored, again not sponsored. But this is a legging by Pando, which is basically, the material should be a lot of times stronger than steel. It should protect you even if you slide for 35 meters over the highway. Not something I would recommend trying out. I hope to never try it out myself, but you know, it's protective is the point. It has hip padding, it has knee padding, and it has these handy hoops that go around your feet so it won't ride up. And you can wear it underneath all your normal clothes. I've tried it underneath regular thin leggings and it looks fine. Tight skinny jeans looks fine. I can wear it underneath my work trousers. You know, it's just perfect in that aspect because it protects you. It also protects you against the heat of the motorcycle itself, so you can just put your legs against the motorcycle like you should without getting burned, which is nice. So yeah, basically you can just wear your regular clothes and still be protected, which is really, really important. Of course, there's also like motorcycle jeans that all have all the protection. Motorcycle leggings that you can just wear on their own that have all the protection, and obviously the well-known leather motorcycle trousers that have all the protection. Just whatever you do, make sure you wear clothes with all the protection, because you know, you never plan on getting into an accident. However, unfortunately, anyone can get into an accident and you don't want to get into one. and then scrape all the skin off your bones because you're wearing regular jeans. That doesn't sound fun to me, at least. So yeah, make sure you always wear protective clothing. But this particular thing just, yeah, it just is really handy to me because it means I can also just put it underneath my work trousers. Ride my motorcycle to work and then I don't have to bother about redressing at work because this is comfortable enough to just wear the entire day anyway. And on top I'll still be wearing my work clothes as I should. Next advice I have for you is something that's very specifically for ladies or men with long hair, anyone with long hair really, that you want to have protected underneath a motorcycle. I saved this tip for last because I'm going to completely wreck my bangs with this, by the way. But anyways, I wanted to show you anyway because it is something that took me a couple of weeks really to figure out. And there are, by the way, specific things, even like devices that you can glue to your helmet to protect your hair, to tuck your hair into. However, with those kind of things, one, they're very expensive, and two, I don't know, I always worry that my hair won't fit in anything, you know, that's made for average long hair, because my hair is extremely long and quite thick. So I figured I'd just figure out something myself. But anyway, yeah, I figured out a nice way with just a regular cowl. This one you can wear as a mask, as a Halloween outfit, I suppose, as a beanie, as whatever. It just came from EMP. You know, it's basically just alternative and gothic wear. But you can just buy a regular black one as well, I suppose. I mean, doesn't matter. As long as it's just a stretchy cowl kind of thing. To protect your hair, and I'll show you how. First thing you do is just pull it over your head. So basically what I do next is I just took off my braid. I do prefer wearing my hair in a braid for this, just because it makes it easier to handle. Also, I can't see anything right now. Are we still recording? Yes, we are, because I'm not wearing glasses now. Yeah, when I ride a motorcycle, I usually wear contact lenses because it's more convenient. But anyway, but yeah, you just tuck it in and just fold it over. And then you just grab your helmet and lean your head forward so the cowl keeps in place. Put your helmet on via the back of your head. And then you're left with this. Is just very nicely tucked away. And in my experience, because your helmet is supposed to be, you know, quite tight on your head, it's really not going anywhere. Like, you don't feel it pressed against your head or anything, but it's not going anywhere. Like, I've driven for, like, you know, a couple of hours in a row with my hair like this. Also on the highway, it didn't go anywhere. And your hair is just nicely protected. It won't get windswept, it won't get damaged, and it won't be like a rat's tail dangling behind your head. I don't know, like, I had my hair in a braid, it got messy in the wind, and I saw my own shadow on the tarmac, and I was like, this ain't pretty. So yeah, anyway, this is just a lot nicer to me. It just really protects your hair without it being in the way in any way. So that's just really, really, really nice. And it's just a really easy, cheap solution. The only downside is your bangs will still look pretty terrible afterwards. Then again, to be fair, I have my bangs in this hairdo instead of vintage style because they're kind of greasy and I really need to wash my hair this afternoon. So there was really not much to be salvaged about them in the first place. Anyway, yeah, the cowl is just a good tip as well for anyone with long hair. So yeah, that brings us to the end of this video pretty much. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention. Someone is using a drill and it's really annoying because they couldn't just wait until it was done filming apparently. Anyway, in terms of costs, that's something like it is specifically for the Netherlands, but it might be useful for you anyway to have just a general idea. For the lessons, including all the exams, it cost me like 1800 euros. And it's like I think 18, 19 lessons, something like that. And do keep in mind that it's better to have a good driving school than to have a cheap driving school. Always go for quality, because if you have a really crappy driving school that's really cheap, it's still going to cost you more because you probably just won't succeed with that driving instructor. Keep that in mind, pick a good school. And the motorcycle itself, plus the clothing, plus other stuff, like, you know, like I said, the locks and stuff like that, was about 14,000 euros. Again, that's including the motorcycle itself. So yes, it's expensive and I definitely recommend saving money at first. I've been wanting to do this for like years before I finally did it. So yeah, I really recommend just saving the money first, so that when you start doing it, you can really just do it for real and do it completely and do it well. So yeah, that brings us to the end of this video. I really hope it was useful to those of you who might be contemplating getting a motorcycle license as well, or otherwise I hope that it was at least amusing to you to see me struggle with trying to get my hair underneath the helmet. For now at any rate, if you did enjoy this video, please click the like button. It would really help me out because it makes YouTube suggest my videos for the 2 new people. And if you want to see more of my videos, you can also subscribe to my channel. I actually mostly do makeup tutorials, but sometimes I do random videos like this, just to keep things nice and like unpredictable, I guess. Anyway, yeah, for now as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day and I hope to see you next time. Bye!